This was a Japan pre-order book for the Aria of Sorrow Game Boy Advance game. This was, I believe, the very first art book I got for the series. And I remember when I got it, I thought, oh my god, I need to find the rest. But at this point in time, there were something like 2 or 3 art books, and I had no idea how to find them. This is a pretty short book, and in the back is a timeline. This book was from the Symphony of Night special edition that was released in Japan. It's really small, size of a CD, and it just is pretty much a sampler of the artwork that Ayami Kojima made. In the back is a pretty neat black and white comic. Here is a CD sampler booklet, a literal sampler with a few music tracks. This one is much like the Symphony of the Night booklet, has a bit of art from the game Curse of Darkness, but this mainly consists of a black and white comic. And I find this is actually really interesting to look at because I'm used to seeing Ayami Kojima's color works, and seeing a comic form is a little different. It's got text and frames, and all this requires planning. So Portrait of Ruin came out for the Nintendo DS, and as part of the special 20th anniversary package, this art book was included. I was super happy to see this. Mainly for, not just for the artwork, but also for being able to read the English commentary. And this book covers a great many Castlevania games, and it was always nice to see any art book of any kind come out for a Castlevania game, as they are primarily promos only. In the back is an interview between Ayami Kojima and Michiru Yamane, who did the music. This is a special limited release in Japan for the Dracula X game that came out for the PSP. I had a very difficult time trying to find this book because it sold out very quickly upon release, and I actually did not find out about this until months later after the release. Oops. This book is pretty cool because it's hardcover compared to the previous books, which were softcover. More Symphony of the Night art, which, for me, since I already had the previous books, gets slightly repetitive. But I like this book. Very beautiful presentation. Next Gen Castlevania. There's always hope for more artworks whenever a new console comes out. So this is the PlayStation 3 game for Lords of Shadow. This is a pretty cool presentation for an art book. It's the art book packaged with the game and the soundtrack. Here's the soundtrack, there's the game. While it does look pretty cool, it makes it a bit hard to flip through for a primary art book. The art in this book consists mostly of CG which was a bit disappointing for me since I really like concept art. But there's some neat settings. Anyways, back of the book. Lords of Shadow came out with a special edition of the game in Japan, and this was the art book that was included in it. This was exactly what I was hoping to get in the North American version of the game. This book has a lot more concept art in comparison. It's also thicker, which is always a bonus. The only beef I could find with this book is that it's too small. It's the size of a DVD case. I kind of wish it were bigger, but hey, it's an art book. I'll have to squint. But yes, a lot of settings, a lot of backgrounds, and a lot of characters. Here's the book I've been waiting years for. Ayami Kojima finally releases an art book of her works. And this is a ultra beauty. Anybody who's even a remote fan of her has to get this. This thing's like 200 pages of color and monochrome art. This covers a lot of her original series, as well as the Castlevania series. And this book is big, so it's really, really nice to see her artwork in full splendor. Now, back when I first originally discovered her artwork, during Symphony of the Night days, I believe, I had seen some of these original artworks and wasn't very into the gorier aspects that she's known to draw. But I'm glad I got over that, because this art book was worth every penny. And some of these Castlevania art books are very small, so to see some of these artworks I'd seen in a much larger form is always very welcome. Not every single Castlevania piece is in here, but that's okay. Any Castlevania is always a good thing in my book. And at the end of this art book was a bonus for me. It was a English translated interview with her. She describes her inspirations as well as how she got into illustrating for a living. And that is the end of my Castlevania book collection.